Clark, and I am your host for Inner Intimacy. So this is my new show, and I decided during quarantine that I wanted to be of service. And how could I best be of service than to talk about something that is truly near and dear to my heart, which is falling in love with ourselves. And it's a really curious topic, this falling in love with ourselves. So I want to talk with you about that. But before we do so, I want to invite you into a moment of meditation. So whether you are joining right now for this live stream or you are going to watch it later, just drop in for a moment. So I'd like you to just come into a comfortable seat. So wherever you are, just sitting up nice and tall. And I would invite you to even close your eyes. You might want to just see what's happening on the screen, but I'll tell you, all that really matters right now is what's happening inside of you. So I am also going to close my eyes and just drop in. And you can let your hands either come right into your lap or palms facing down. And I want you to just start focusing on your breath for a moment, this moment. Taking a full deep inhale. And a complete exhale. Another inhale breath. And an exhale. And if you're joining me now or watching later, start to feel into the words, inner intimacy, and what that means to you. It doesn't have to have any logical meaning per se, but maybe there's a felt sense of what inner intimacy means to you. I'd like you to take your left hand and just go ahead and just place it there on your heart. And then perhaps even your right hand can come to your belly and just feeling and breathing there. You can feel that your hand is connected to your heart and that your other hand is connected to your belly. And you feel this life pulsing within you. It's this intimate connection with life flowing in and out of you. You haven't had to do anything to be worthy of this breath. It was given to you as a gift from the Creator, from universe, from God. How do you deepen this intimacy? The most powerful tool that we have is choice. How do you choose to deepen the intimacy within yourself? So just keep breathing. If you find it a little bit difficult to concentrate on your breath, that's okay. Just slow back down and go right back in. Exhale out. Intimacy with self. Just take a couple more breaths here together. And exhale it all out. Good. And you can just remove your hands. Yeah, maybe just shake a little bit, move your shoulders. Welcome yourself into the space, wherever you are, whatever space that you're occupying. Welcome yourself. Have you taken the time to do that this morning? That every single thing that you're doing is a form of prayer in a sense. It's this communion with unseen, with the unseen. It's a communion with yourself, the way that you relate to yourself, the way that you love yourself. So taking your time to really feel into that, to feel into the presence of where you are right now. I am delighted that you're here. I see that I have some people join. Thank you so much. But I really want to stay focused right here. I want to stay focused right here. So I probably won't be reaching out too much to the comments until a little bit later. But in this moment, I want to share my heart with you and why I've decided to talk about this really deep and personal experience of inner intimacy. So what is inner intimacy? Let's just start from there. Inner intimacy is really this path of, it's a path, there's many paths, but this is a path to falling in love with yourself. And I'm talking about deeply, deeply in love with yourself. I'm not talking about vanity or looking good and, getting your nails done. Lord knows I need my nails done. But truly, what does it mean to stay with yourself, to be with yourself through everything that you've ever experienced, through all the hardships, through all the losses, through everything? And I'm going to tell you, I have gone through some stuff, right? So I've had to start from zero several times. And I know that many of you have as well. So over the next month, 2 months, the next course of the show, you're going to hear more about this pathway of falling in love with yourself, inner intimacy. How do you fall in love with yourself is the question. What's the first step? How do you even do that? Most of the time, I'll tell you, a lot of us don't even necessarily like ourselves. I used to be in that boat. But I want to rewind. I want to back it all the way back up to when you were a child, when you were a baby. Our natural state is of love. That's our natural state. An unnatural state is when we are going into shaming ourselves or comparing or any type of comparison, any type of thing that is a self-judgment is conditioned. That is not our natural state. I know you've all seen babies. I've had 5 beautiful children of my own. I was so blessed in this lifetime. And when you see a baby experience their toes, their feet, they're so happy. They're just grateful to have a body. They're in delight with their body. They're playing. And we forgot how to be that way. We forgot that natural state of delight. We don't have to tell the baby, you got to love yourself. The baby just loves itself because its natural state is love. Now, it's not until it starts getting tossed and turned through the waves of life and all the things that we hear from, our parents or from going to school or from the commercials, the television, all those kind of things, that now that child who's no longer a baby has started to grow further and further away from their natural state, which is love. That's your natural state. Can you agree with that? That is your natural state. So inner intimacy is learning how to come back to that natural state of delight, of joy, of bliss, letting go of judgment. Man, that's hard sometimes. It's hard until you actually commit and say, there's no other option. There's no other option for me because I'm not choosing any other option. As soon as you decide that you're going to fall back in love with yourself and you say, you know what, I'm going to be by your side. I'm committing to you. I'm going to commit to you time and time again, over and over and over and over and over, no matter how many times you fall on your knees, no matter how many times you embarrass yourself. I'm staying with you. I'm going to love you. Does that feel like something you want? Is that something that you feel drop into that for a minute? Does that even feel resonant for you? So I'm going to turn to a second just to take a look at some of these comments here. Yes, I'm seeing this. Yes, it is something that we want. It's something that we desire, to come back to our natural state. So to grab a pen and paper if you don't already have it. I love to have this because I think that anytime you start to actually write something, it versus just typing it, you're going to start to ingrain this a little bit more. So what do you want? What do you want? Why do you want to come back to your natural state of love? You have to understand that You know, when we talk so much about self-care and self-love, and it is so vital. I'm so grateful that we're having the conversations now. So grateful that the conversations are happening. And I think sometimes that there can be some confusion about what that looks like. Because falling back in love with ourselves, if anyone's ever been in a relationship or in a marriage or is currently, you know it's not easy, is it? It's not easy. It's work. You know, I'd like to say that it's simple. There's some simple principles of falling in love and nurturing a relationship and caring. But it's not easy because now we have to apply other parts of ourselves. There's this inner working that we have to tune into. It's constantly this choice of how am I going to meet these challenges that I'm facing every single day? How am I going to meet the challenges of this person? Now, here's the cool thing about it is that this other person I'm talking about is you. I'm talking about this inner marriage inside of you, right? Bringing in your divine, the masculine and the feminine aspects of you. So why is this important to you to love yourself? Jot that down for a moment. Why is it important for you? You got to have a reason why. Because if you don't have some kind of reason, some kind of a force, some kind of a purpose, then when it comes down to making that choice every day, when it comes down to like doing the hard work, it's going to be really easy to bail out of it. It's going to be super easy to bail out of it if you don't have a compelling reason why you need to love yourself. So just take a moment, just jot that down. I'm going to wait right here for you to do that. And then I'm going to share some things with you. But I'd like you to take that time. And if you don't have a pen and paper, maybe you're just watching this later or what have you, that's okay. But just think about that. Why? Why is it important for me to love myself? I want you to go beyond just the basic, like survival. Surviving is not enough. So why do you need to love yourself? Because somebody could survive. We've seen that throughout history. People can survive without loving themselves. Why is it important for you to love yourself? So take a moment, jot that down right here. All right. I'm going to scroll over here really quick, see if I see anything in the comments. Nice. Thank you. Happy Tuesday. Yes, beautiful, gifted breath. Yes, we're here. We are here. We are here, and hopefully we are ready to come back to our natural state of love. Okay. So why it's important for me to love myself is because I recognize that I have been given a gift that only I have inside of me. And it is only up to me to be able to unwrap that gift so that I can share it with others. I can share it with my children. I can share it with my family. I can share it with you. But I can also share it with myself so that I can have an enjoyable, blissful, delightful experience here on this planet. Because it's my birthright to do that, right? Like, I don't have to suffer and be in pain or in shame. I get to have this miraculous gift of life. And the more that I love myself, the more that I can choose that. And I can keep on choosing and coming back to love. It's really simple, really simple. And we can go on and talk about these things. But I want to leave you with that so you can feel into what does that really mean? Why is it important for me to love myself? So when you also love yourself, now you can go out and do the challenging things. Now you can go out and step out on faith. You can go out and say, you know what, I'm going to take this chance. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I might make a fool of myself. I might fall on my ass. I don't know. But you're willing to take those chances because you know that everything that you're doing is coming from a place of love. When you are coming from a place of love, because you have so much love for yourself, regardless of whatever you've experienced in the past, whatever anyone has ever done to you, quote unquote, right? Whatever experiences, and I don't mean that lightheartedly because I know there's some really damaging things that have happened with people. And when we choose to come from a place of love, we can start to do really incredible things. And that is really what we are going to be experiencing and discussing in different practices that I'm going to be sharing with you during this show. All right. So now that you have that, why is it important to love yourself? I'd like you to write this down now. What is the most difficult thing for you to love and accept about yourself? What is the most difficult thing for you to love and accept about yourself? So just take a moment, write that down. Write that down. Some of you probably had some ideas like right away came up. And I bet you a lot of them were judgments, right? Like maybe they're judgments. Maybe some of us women, oh, my hips are too big, or this thing happened, and I can't accept this mistake that I made, or this choice that I made. And so for some of us, it's really easy to fall back into that place of shame. It's easier almost to go into a place of shame and guilt and ridicule than it is to come back to love, until you practice coming back to love more frequently. Okay, so it's all a practice. This is all a practice. It's not perfection. The perfection is in the messiness. The perfection is in the messiness. The perfection is in your ability to get back up, brush your knees off, brush your shoulders off, get up again and say, I'm going to love anyways. I'm going to love in spite of. So the most difficult thing for you to love and accept about yourself. So I have many, many, many vulnerable experiences that I could share. And perhaps one of the most difficult things for me to accept about myself was that a time where in 2009, I lost everything in the crash. I had invested a lot of money in real estate and rental properties. And I came from a middle class background and so forth, but I didn't trust people. I didn't trust anybody. So I didn't trust anybody to ask for help or for guidance. So I was making a lot of money. I was making a lot of what I thought were great decisions, but ultimately it ended in me losing everything in 2009. And I went into a severe, severe depression, really broke down. Well, I'm going to say I thought it was a breakdown, but what it turned out to be was a breakthrough. So you can write that down too. Okay. So what I thought was a breakdown really turned out to be a breakthrough. Because a lot of times when we have those moments where it's like feels like catastrophic, it feels cataclysmic, like everything, like that's exactly how I felt. Like I was losing everything. I lost my mind. I felt like there's actually a breaking point, this opening. I'd like you to think about like this opening, like the earth quaking, that begins to help you to create a new ship. But that's a whole nother conversation. We'll have that. So a breakdown is really a breakthrough oftentimes when you reframe it. But during this time, really stressful. So I lost everything, also went through a divorce, and in the divorce decided that at that time, because I felt like my ship was sinking, that my children needed to go live with their father, and they lived in a different state. And for many, many years, I held a great shame towards myself and a lot of judgment. And for a long time after that, I felt like I had to do a lot of making up for lost times, making up, and was constantly beating myself up and feeling really separated from love. It took me some time to understand. It took me some time to understand that what I was doing, even though it didn't look like the color of love that I saw broadcasted on the commercials about the way that mothers love their children, or it didn't look like the color of love that I read about in books and saw in the fairy tales, that I was in fact loving my children because I was loving myself to do the very best thing that I could do in that moment with my circumstances. And how many of you are doing the same thing? How many of you are making decisions right now based on where you are at consciously, right? Where you're vibrating. And in that particular moment, I really believe that people do the very best that they can do with what they have. That's it. And that's what I was doing. I was loving myself. And thus, because I was loving myself, even though I didn't realize it at the time, I was loving my children. And so I want you to know that this inner intimacy is not about like bypassing. It's no spiritual bypassing. We're not trying to make any excuses for behaviors because, ultimately it comes down to self-responsibility, our ability to respond to situations. The more that we equip ourselves with new information, new knowledge, new wisdom, we tap into wisdom, then we can make more appropriate responses at that time, right? We have more choices, we have more arsenal to choose from, and that's beautiful, beautiful. So this last question was, what is the most difficult thing for you to love and accept about yourself? Judgment's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere. It might for a minute you think that it's going to light a fire under your ass so you can get up and go and start doing some things, but I'm telling you, it's doing nothing but tearing you down inside. Doing nothing but tearing you down. And when you are judging yourself, you can't give love to someone else. You can't give love and support and encouragement to somebody else. You might say encouraging things to people, but what's really inside of you, if there's judgment, shame, condemnation, you are going to be unconsciously in competition with everyone else that you think is doing better than you. Everybody else that you're comparing yourself to, you are going to secretly, unconsciously, be maybe even hoping that they fail in some way so that you can be on what you think even playing fields. And I know that that's hard to acknowledge, but it's true. If you really drop inside of yourself, you recognize that you can't give to somebody else what you don't have for yourself. So why then, I'm going to go back to that first question. Why is it important for you to love yourself? You've got to love yourself better than anyone else. You've got to be your very, very best lover. You got to be the one that you making love like you are the one that's making love to yourself every single day. You want to cook a beautiful meal, you cook a beautiful meal for you because you got to do for you. You got to give yourself all the love that you want to receive from others, but also that you want to be able to give to others. So if you have shame or judgment, condemnation, all those kind of things, if you're holding yourself to this like really rigid, really rigid way of being, you're going to do the same thing to other people. And anything that you put out, baby, let me tell you, you're going to get right back in. Okay, because that's the flow. You always hear that. What comes around goes around, karma. You hear that. It's this giving and receiving. You plant, you're going to sow, or you're going to, let me get this right, you're going to reap what you sow. It's all been said in so many different ways. We understand that. So where does it start? It starts with you. It starts with you. Clear the container. Clear the container. Drop into yourself. Release the things that aren't serving you, like judgment. Any of those kind of things. Get over that. You got to get over it. Somebody told me one time, I couldn't wrap my brain around it. They said, you got to forgive and forget. And I said, well, how am I going to forget? I mean, how do you just forget something? Especially when something's happened. I know a lot of times, a lot of us have gone through a lot of trauma in our past. And how do we forget that those things happened? But I came to understand that though a thing happened, that you begin to release that it's no longer just circulating in your consciousness on a daily basis and feeding you with more negativity, shame, pain, frustration. And even when those little reminders start to come back in, that you're choosing a different path. You're choosing a path of love. You're choosing to come back and restore yourself, to bring more resilience back to yourself. And that's important. And it's simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up here in a minute. I hope that this was helpful for you. So grateful. I'm so grateful to have been able to come on and just share some of these pieces with you, because this is where my heart is. And this is also where my vulnerability is in speaking about these things that have been so deeply it's been a deep process for me in my own personal healing trauma from childhood, and then of course, bringing that trauma into motherhood and adulthood, and then where I am right now. So keep staying with me on this journey. I'm excited. I want to hear from you. I'm going to read those comments later. Even if you watch this later, go ahead and put some comments in there, because I'd love to be able to share with you more tips, more tools. But more importantly, aside from being any like tools or tips, practicality, I want you to get the essence of what I'm talking about. And that is about falling in love with yourself, your whole self. Even the parts that you think are ugly, the parts that you want to hide, the parts that you keep locked up inside the basement and hope that nobody ever finds out about them. I'm talking about going down into that basement, feeding that part of you and saying that I love you. I love you. I'm going to unshackle you, because I know that until I accept you fully, I will not be able to unwrap my gift. If there's a part of you that's still locked up in the basement because you're ashamed, or you've got all kinds of judgment, you don't want anyone else to see, I'm telling you, you will not step fully into your gift, into your purpose. And let's do this. Let's do this. This is our lifetime. So, quick things. First question I asked, why is it important to love yourself? Get beyond the superficial. I'm not talking about vanity. I'm not talking about beauty. All those things are important. And we've got to go inward, this inward journey. So why is it important for you to love yourself? Second question is, what is the most difficult thing for you to love and accept about yourself? And I gave you an example of about a time where I had what I thought was a breakdown that turned out to be a breakthrough. And it's because of that breakthrough that I'm here where I am right now, this moment, speaking to you. Okay. And finally, I mentioned several times that you've got to be your best lover. You've got to be your best friend. You've got to be that ride or die for yourself. Like, you don't give up on you, because you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot give what you do not have. And if you've got a stockpile full of like judgment and shame and guilt and not enoughness and unworthiness, guess what? You're going to be projecting that out. You're going to be projecting it out onto everyone else that you think is doing better than you, quote unquote. Okay. And that's no bueno. That's no good. That's not how we elevate this planet. So let's all rise together. I want to just stay in love and peace with you, because that's our reward, is just to continue just vibrating as high as we possibly can, because that's who we are. That's what's possible for us. Peel back all those layers, let go of that armor. Tune in next Tuesday, because I'm going to be right here again at 11 a.m. I can't wait to see you. And also, you can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me at Veronica L. Clark. And then on my website, VeronicaLynnClark.com. So VeronicaLynnClark.com. Reach out to me. I'm looking forward to working with you one-on-one, or having you in one of my yoga meditation sessions. So peace and love. Stay wise, and really be kind. Be kind. All right.